Hi, my name's Hudson, and I'm a geoholic.
Just a quick note to express our appreciation for the 2021 Friends of the Program for their continued support. Please consider their products and services as they have special promos for Geoholics listeners. Aerotech Mapping Inc., atmlv.com. Advanced Geodetic Surveys Inc., agsgps.com. Bad Elf GPS, bad-elf.com. Cobb Fenley, cobbfenley.com. Cyanic Automation, cyanicautomation.com. Diamondback Land Surveying, diamondbacklandsurveying.com. Get Kids Into Survey, getkidsintosurvey.com. Land Surveyors United, landsurveyorsunited.com. Mentoring Mondays, mentoringmondays.xyz. Monson Engineering, monsonengineering.com. Parkland Community College, parkland.edu/land-surveying. Safety Apparel, safetyapparel.us. And last but not least, Tiger Supplies, tigersupplies.com. Good morning, Geoholics. We are coming to you live this morning from the Diamondback Land Surveying Studio in what is apparently going to be a cloudy, blustery day in Phoenix.
I know. We're going to enjoy this one before it turns into 100 degrees before we know it.
It's crazy. I mean, I think the predicted high today is like 73, and by the weekend, it's going to be 101.
That's a pretty nuts difference.
Spring is over, unfortunately. Jeez. So our esteemed guest for this episode resides in the UK, so we had to make the necessary arrangements on our end to make time for everyone. I think we got the short end of the stick on this one, but since it is just after 6 a.m. here, but that's quite all right because he is definitely worth it. We are recording episode 80. I'm pretty certain I know what this is going to be, but what you got for number 80 shoots?
Of course, it's Jerry Rice.
Of course.
When you're the greatest of all time at your position, you earned it. He's 1985 first round pick, number 16 overall out of Mississippi Valley State.
Yep.
Went to the 49ers, spent a few years there. 13-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl 23 MVP. And he is in both the College Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Hall of Fame.
Wow. You abbreviated all his accolades, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. I could go all day.
We could probably do an entire episode just on Jerry Rice's accolades.
I think it was 10-time all-team first all-team.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Mr. Everything.
Holds a record for just about everything in wide receiving in football. So.
Yep. I think there might be a couple things that Larry Fitzgerald might be catching him on, or maybe he has caught him on. I don't know. But
catching up, Terrell Owens was the guy hot on his tail if that guy just wasn't crazy.
Yeah,
but no,
exactly.
He was consistent for such a long time.
Yep. All right. So I can't believe, speaking of episode 80, I can't believe we're 20 episodes away from the century mark.
I know.
It's unbelievable, right? I mean, who'd have thought we could keep this thing going
and growing
for as long as we have, and the traction that it's got, it's mind blowing. Crazy for sure. But speaking of crazy, the new hats are a hit. In fact, because of the response we received from the pics I posted on social media, we're gonna put all 3 versions of the hat. They're gonna be available for purchase via the website.
I like it,
because I had a bunch of people reach out to me. How can I get one? How can I get one? So I think we are gonna do that. I just got to figure out how to get it on the website. So PJ, I might need your technical expertise on that.
Yeah. Just throw more on PJ's plate.
Yeah, right. He's got nothing else to do. All right. Tell us about that opening number there, PJ.
All right, guys. That was Deacon Blue. Fergus Sings the Blues. So Deacon Blue are a Scottish pop rock band formed in Glasgow?
Yes.
Glasgow.
During 1985. The lineup of the band consists of vocalist Ricky Ross and Lorraine McIntosh, the keyboard player James Prime, and drummer Dougie Vipond. The band released their debut album Raintown on May 1st, 1987 in the United Kingdom, and in the United States in February 1988. Fast forward 33 years, the band's 11th studio album, Riding on the Tide of Love, was released in February 2021 to commercial success in both the UK and their native Scotland. As of 2020, Deacon Blue's total album sales stood at 7 million with 12 UK top 40 singles, along with 2 #1 albums in both UK and Scotland.
Very good, PJ. Just a couple corrections there. I think, and our guest this morning will be able to correct us on this. I think it's Deacon Blue.
Yeah, I went back and forth.
But here's what I love. I love when our guests suggest a band that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself a big music person, and when I get to hear a band I've never heard before that I like, it's awesome. And
these guys are pretty esteemed.
Yeah,
33 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time to do it.
Absolutely. So thanks for that, PJ. Our highlighted friend of the program this week. Shoots, what do you got? I believe who we up to? We're up to Advanced Geodetic Surveys,
That is
Inc.
correct. They're a Texas S corporation specializing in mapping and land surveying equipment that has been proudly doing business since 1991. Their team provides the best solutions and services for your needs. AGS has consistently provided expertise in the surveying and mapping industry. They offer a comprehensive list of competitive surveying and mapping products. The staff at AGS has a combined experience over 135 years. Holy schmoly. With that in mind, you can be sure that they are able to solve any problems and obstacles that you may encounter in the field. Their #1 priority is customer satisfaction. They look after their clients and strive to provide a hassle-free experience for all your GPS mapping or surveying needs. They guarantee reliable equipment and offer short and long-term rental options to fit your needs. Their clients are located all over the world, and they look forward to helping, you with your next project. Go to agsgps.com/shop, SHOP.
Slop.
It's early, boys. It's early. And if you use promo code GEO15, you'll save 15% off all regular price field supplies, accessories, and safety equipment. At AGS, it's the service after the sale that counts.
Thank you, Shoots. I got to say, our morning voices are unbelievably sexy. This is amazing. Man, we sound good.
Like I said, I was talking to myself the whole time on the way here just to wake it up, and it's still not there.
All right, time for this week's Trimble Geospatial Pod word. This week we're going to go with, I don't even know if this is a word, but I'm using it, Geo15, Geo15. Just a reminder, this is the last episode for April, meaning we have recorded 4 regular episodes this month, plus the extra Geoholics Anonymous, but no pod word that one. So there's 4, each one having a unique pod word. So stop what you're doing and email us all 4 April pod words to qualify for this month's listener prize, being a hand-selected item from my personal collection of survey memorabilia.
It's not that easy.
It's not easy at all. It's pretty freaking cool, and I can assure you that you are going to want it. So that email to send the pod words to is info@thegeoholics.com. Let's catch up with the boys. Good morning, PJ. What's new?
How are you now?
Good morning. So I made an announcement in the group chat a couple days ago that I am going to be pursuing golf this summer. So we're going to get some clubs going.
Love
and
it.
I've never really played anything more than just at a driving range for an hour or two.
Nice.
And mostly just driver stuff. And I think that's probably what's discouraged me, is just always just swinging the driver around, which is, from what I understand, one of the harder clubs. So it's been like, okay, I can't do this, and just kind of gave up. So with summer coming around the corner and take advantage of these cheap fares, these courses, I'm going out there. So
sure.
I want to get to the point where I can just be out there and be able to just go with a foursome and keep up.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I'll keep you posted.
But
yeah.
Yep. No,
the
good
best
move.
advice I ever received was start with your putter and work back, because you're using the putter every hole. You're not using your driver.
It's a good one.
Wow.
I like that.
I like that.
I was a former friend of the program, or guest of the program.
Who's that?
The Verge.
The Verge.
Okay.
Mayor of Verge.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him play golf, and he can really swing a stick. So
Yeah,
I'll take
absolutely.
that for sure.
For sure. And take lessons.
Yeah.
Lessons. Not from me, not from Shoots.
Not from
Take
me.
real lessons.
Real license.
Don't get into have some bad habits right off the get-go.
Yeah. Then you can't break them.
Yeah, exactly. You get accustomed to playing a certain way, and then it's hard to break those habits.
For sure.
Duly noted. Shoots, how are you?
Fantastic. I finally convinced the lovely Carrie to go for a Nintendo Switch.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I am a rock star around my house right now.
Nice.
Do you have one already?
Yeah.
What's the review? Early review.
I like it. It keeps me out of trouble. I stay up all night playing that instead of doing stuff I shouldn't. But
what are you playing? Mario? What are we talking?
we got Mario 3D World, the Maker. Have you played that one?
I've seen it.
It's pretty excellent. You get to build your own levels of Mario. So they just
assuming the little guy loves it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's his reason for living currently. So He gets up first thing in the morning. He's like, thanks for getting a Nintendo Switch.
So it used to be school. That was his reason for living. So
Yeah.
screw that.
No.
Now he just lives for the Switch.
Exactly. I asked him, I said, do you want to stay home and play Nintendo all day or go to school? And he said Nintendo. I think Carrie was heartbroken.
Yeah.
But
I would love to know, like, somebody should do a study about the progression of video games and the degression, I guess, of the level of education in this country.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know if
no,
I'm
no.
saying that right, but man, what a distraction those things are, right?
They are.
I know they were for me in college. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well, but
What was that, like the Atari days?
that was like, oh, what was that one? Donkey Kong or something?
On
No.
Nintendo. ColecoVision, perhaps.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it was a Nintendo. It was Nintendo. I do remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's up with you
Oh gosh, what's up with me?
besides Nintendo?
I think I have become a bigger Elon Musk fan than ever. There's some really cool stuff going on with that guy right now. I mean, cooler than ever. I did see he's going to be the guest host on
Mhm.
Saturday Night Live. I think
That's going to be crazy.
May
I mean, if you've
8th?
ever seen any sort of public speaking that he does, and he refuses to not be the guy that does it. So all the Tesla events, all the
Yeah.
SpaceX events, he wants to be the spokesperson, but the guy just has such a hard time talking. I'm convinced it's because he can't process
Yeah.
what's going on in his brain and
Mhm.
get it out.
Yeah,
But this is going to be crazy. You saw his tweet, right?
yeah. No, which was the tweet?
He was like, let's see how live Saturday Night Live really
Oh,
is.
yeah. I'm sure he'll be
And by the time this airs, and we're going to find out how live Saturday Night Live is.
he'll be partaking in the devil's lettuce. I have to believe
Oh, of course.
prior
Didn't
and
he do
during
that,
the
like,
show.
on Rogan's podcast?
Yeah,
Yeah, and Tesla dropped like
Yeah,
4%
for sure.
the next day.
yeah, it's awesome. 4.2%, or call it 420.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing is, I saw he's like, did you hear his? Maybe I read it about him sending people to Mars, and
Yeah.
he's like, it's going to be the greatest adventure ever, but
You're
people
gonna die.
will die.
So you're just
I love the honesty. You know, it's awesome.
Mhm.
you're donating your body to science.
Pretty much, definitely. So, anyways, huge Elon Musk fan. Not ready to buy a Tesla quite yet, though. Safety apparel, safety share. Shoots, what you got?
Lead awareness. Lead is one of the most common toxic elements found in industry and is the leading cause of workplace illness, with approximately 95% of all elevated blood lead levels reported among adults in the United States are work related. Lead poisoning can damage the brain, liver, kidneys, and red blood cells. It can also damage bones and cartilage and harm the reproductive system. Nobody wants that.
Does that have anything to do when they talk about having lead in your pencil?
Exactly. There you go. That makes sense. So here's some of the ways you can protect yourself and workers against lead exposure. PPE, such as gloves, safety glasses, and face shields. Like we don't know what PPE is at this point in our lives. Respiratory protection. Respirators protect workers against oxygen-enriched or deficient oxygen environments. Ventilation is one of the most important engineering controls available to the industrial hygienist for improving or maintaining the quality of the air in the occupational work environment.
I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think we've used that one before.
No, lead awareness. I just saw it and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
something people don't really think about.
Just another thing to worry about.
exactly.
If COVID doesn't get you, lead will.
We'll call it the safety share / something else to worry about.
There you go. Yeah, that's what we should do. I like that. All right, let's get on with this. Our guest today is Steve Slessor. Yeah, a little bit about Steve here before we get into it. He's born in the Lake District, which is in northern England, and grew up in a small town called Penrith. Hopefully I got that right. He attended the University of Central Lancashire, which is in Preston, and did both his undergrad and master's degrees there. Steve is a keen gardener, and Jake, you're going to love this. He loves building Lego models.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little more about that. Also a big fan of football, also known as soccer here in the States, and has a season ticket at the Liverpool Football Club, which I want to hear more about. He is the managing director of the environment division of Galliford better known as GT. GT is a UK top 10 building and infrastructure contractor. One of Steve's career highlights is becoming the president of the Chartered Institution of Civil Engineering Surveyors in the UK. He views this as an honor and a privilege to lead one of the world's leading organizations in civil engineering surveying. That was a mouthful. Steve, welcome to the Geoholics. Thanks for taking the time to be here.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's really kind of you for that fantastic welcome. And I'm really sorry for getting you out of your beds in the morning. I know how much you love it, and I can see you sort of with the drip in the background there, Shoots and Kent, where the coffee coming straight into intravenous systems to try and keep you awake during this. So thank you for bearing with me where I've been up for the best part of 8 hours and already done the shift. So but that's how I roll.
That's of course, right? Yeah.
I love, by the way, just listening to your stat there about the lead pipes. The lead, you do know that like near enough half of the American water mains network is made out of lead pipe. So it's fascinating that that's still there, such a big thing. I read somewhere recently that president's commissioned a big lead pipe removal program. So
yeah, I've heard about that. Yep,
that was quite the introduction. But towards the end there, when you said it's an honor and a privilege to work on whatever, I thought you were going to say to be here.
Yeah,
not really.
I was so close. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, so I know.
Of course, it's an honor and a privilege to be here, guys.
I'm sure Jake's got a question for you about the Lego building.
Yeah, what's your favorite set you've put together?
Well, do you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm speaking to you via Zoom, but if I undo my camera, the background, you'll see I've actually got a load of Lego trains behind me sitting on my wall there.
Oh, wow.
Quite like the Lego train sets. But if I go up, you can see some of the other sort of Lego models that I've got in here.
Yeah,
Big
London Bridge.
Star Wars fans, so quite a few. Then the statue. I do love coming to the States. It's one of my favorite places to visit. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And so I like the Lego models that come from there, like Empire State and Statue of Liberty and things like that. So yeah. But yeah, I've been a Lego fan since I was like a little boy, and once you grow out of it a little bit, but then you have kids and then you suddenly remember why you really loved it and you start playing with them again. Like I've got 3 girls. So it's all been sort of Lego Friends and Heart Lake City shopping malls and things like that. It's not my ideal way of playing Lego, guys. I ain't going to lie to you, but I'll take what I can get.
That's awesome. And I got to ask you, because I wouldn't consider myself a huge football or soccer fan, but I do enjoy watching it, especially like the game, like the Liverpool games and stuff like that, just because that atmosphere, it looks like it's unbelievable. What is it like to be physically at one of those games?
Do you know something? I ain't gonna lie to you. There's games that you go to, and it's very transactional because I've been going for so long, and you get into it, and you just become so normal. What I'll say to you is I've been in that place in some incredible games in my football watching life. I think the 2 ones that stand out were we played Chelsea in the Champions League semi-final in 2005 before we got to Istanbul. And it was the goal that was never scored. It claimed never to go over the line, but it was given. And the place was just incredible. I was sitting at the back of what they call the Kenny Dalglish stand these days, but it used to be the Centenary stand. And it's just like corrugated iron at the back of the stand, and everyone's just ramming the back of the corrugated iron. You can feel the whole place bouncing around you. It's as if you're part of something. It's so incredible. You are, although you're in awe of the atmosphere, you help create it. And certainly the last sort of one of the best games I've been to is certainly the home leg against Barcelona in the Champions League in 2019, wow, where we were like 4-0 down to come back and actually get through that fixture was absolutely incredible. And when Divock Origi scored that goal, I was sitting in the corner right opposite where the corner flag was. And the place was just went bananas. I can't even explain it. It's just incredible. And then some of the best trips that I've been really fortunate. I've been to lots of games over in Europe. Went to Madrid for that final and spent 4 crazy hours in a square in Madrid. They imported live music over from Liverpool. It was mental. And I'd done the same a few years previously in Kiev, Taksim Square. And it was just there's a word in Liverpool. It's called boss, which means it's really great. It's the best. And so, the event's organised by this group called a Boss Night, because all they do is just put on events all around, getting the fans going, singing the songs, having a few beers, just enjoying life. And I would say that's a pretty good, accurate representation of what's important to me, Ken. So, it's good. It's difficult to explain without being there, but it's electric.
I'm sure.
Sounds like Cameron Hughes needs to make a trip over
yeah,
the
right.
pond.
Yeah, well, I'll ride on his coattails over there. When you were telling that story about, coming back from 4 down and the winning goal and being in the corner, I mean, I literally got chills just hearing that story.
That was recent too. That was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was just shy of 2 years ago. And but I mean, I've been going there for 30 years and been a lot of heartache at that time. I mean, a bit like, so we're owned by FSG, owned Boston Red Sox, and we know about I know a little bit about the tales of not winning the World Series. We won the league last year for the first time in 30 years, and it was just because of the COVID constraints. The game, it was actually, we weren't even playing. Chelsea had to win or get beat, can't remember what it was, against another team. And so we're watching it, and I'm watching it in my back garden with nobody else around me, going absolutely mental with a few beers. I'm watching it on my iPad, and you think the world had gone mental, but that was the most celebrated I think I've done, despite having a 30-year pent-up demand for that. But it's great because there are quite a lot of similarities though. I've been to some American sports games. I've been to a few like baseball games, and they're equally as good and equally as passionate, just in different ways, because it's a little bit more intense at different times. So just different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Really good stuff there. I appreciate that. Let's get on with this. So we're going to focus on we're talking, the state of surveying in the UK, and of course, Chartered Institution of Civil Engineering Surveyors, also known as CICES. So let's kind of lay the groundwork just a little bit. So let's talk about the state of surveying in the UK. So my understanding is the population of the UK is plus or minus about 68 million people. And of course, it's made up of 4 different countries, being England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So hopefully I'm on track here. So far, so good, right?
Good.
Okay, so as far as like surveying goes in the UK, I'm curious to see if you guys are experiencing some of the same trends that we are. And, one of those is, of course, the decline in the number of surveyors. The average age of a surveyor here in the States is like 59 years old. And, but yet the future demand is off the charts. Are you experiencing the same thing in the UK?
Absolutely. I think it's there's a lot of similarities there. Certainly the biggest challenge we've got as an institution and as a sector in developing surveying in that way is around how we can attract new talent into organizations and into businesses and into college or university, as we call them in the UK. And we're really looking at in a lot of real detail, and there's pockets of real excellence in order to help generate that kind of interest. But we started a program to really engage with kids at a much younger age. I think in the past, we've really not started looking at new entrants or early careers until the sort of in the last years of college, university. But now we're really sort of having to go back and actually start at a much younger age. So in primary school age, from sort of 7 to 11. So we've developed some sort of like Geo Squad, they're called cartoon books, with create a little bit of animation around it. And generate some interest and working with organisations around that. We're working with some other partners around deploying land surveying training at high school age, so between 14 and 16. Because what we're finding is most kids these days are making career decisions or career pathways around about 16, 17. And so we often find that we're missing that influence. I think the other thing is that there's this expectation from a lot of people in the UK that people have to go to university or college to be successful. And what we've found in the past, a lot of land surveyors have moved up through a traditional route of on-the-job training. Some have got a pathway via university, via geospatial sciences or mapping type degrees, but it's very difficult. I think from the average age, doing a little bit of work, speaking to the guys, we're about 53, 54. Certainly the wrong side of 45, which is the average, which is where you'd want to be. And I think that in itself causes problems, because not only are people coming out of the industry, but we're losing that knowledge. We're not having that knowledge to sort of send down to the younger people coming through. So one of the things we're doing in the institution is creating a knowledge hub where we speak to all our members that are sort of in the later careers, gather that knowledge, gather that experience, put it in a central place where early career members, people that start that pathway can get involved, learn from that, mentor people, match people together. So yeah, there's quite a bit of work going on around that space to try and address that challenge.
So what are the education requirements, or is there an education requirement? Maybe a difference from country to country.
There's no baseline educational requirements. There's usually sort of 2 different pathways. It's consistent across all the parts of the UK, but usually you can either go to like university or college and do a degree in it's like geospatial mapping or some sort of sciences or land surveying type degree, or you can go in through the apprentice route, which is where you'll start at a very, very low level and work your way through. And that's supported by like education and training, often day release or block release, as they call it, where they'll go into university on a part-time basis to support the learning. And that's where I came. So I'm actually not a geospatial surveyor. So our institution's made up of two parts, the geospatial surveying and commercial quantity surveying, which would be like cost management. So but I did my same way through on-the-job training and moved through that way. What you find is that once you come out of education or you reach a certain standard, then you'll look at the professional membership. So in the UK, that's either ourselves in Chartered Institutes of Engineering Surveyors or the RICS. The RICS are a much bigger, wider global organisation that are focused on survey as a whole. We are much more focused on survey around infrastructure and civil engineering. So we're very niche in some respects, but we've got a really dedicated and well-structured training program to help people get to that professional standard. And then, once you reach that standard, you can then go on and apply to be a chartered engineer, which is a different route to what you often hear in the UK as chartered surveyor. So that's like your professional registration. But there's no compulsory elements of that. I could set up tomorrow as a geospatial surveyor, get a theodolite and a total station, and that'll be me. There's no professional registration in the UK.
Interesting. So if somebody from the States hypothetically wanted to come over there and become a chartered surveyor, I guess, what would that process look like? And I guess, there'd also be two tracks that person could take, if they have a 4-year degree here in the States versus getting licensed via experience. I mean, would it be a very complicated process?
Strictly speaking, no. So generally, like, for example, we have a number of agreements with organizations across the world for principles of mutual recognition, where we recognize each of our members' qualifications as being to the same sort of standard. And so there's a set of what I would call like global standards in surveying, which most of the institutions work towards and accredit to. So the application process is pretty straightforward, to be honest. In theory, they don't need to actually become chartered engineer or chartered surveyor. They could just come to the UK with the relevant work permits, get a job or start up, and that would be them. But if you want to then become a member of the professional organizations, it's a very straightforward way. If you're already a member in the US, there's a reciprocal training route, membership route, or if you've got experience, it's an experience route, which is relatively straightforward. It's just a set of competency-based assessments that you can demonstrate your experience, a CV, and an interview, and that's it.
Wow.
Study up on the metric system and head over there.
I might do it just for the hell of it, right?
We've actually got a few members in the States that and North America as a whole. And one of the things that we're starting to do is create virtual communities to try and unite these people, because what we've found is we've got a few members that are in the States, for example, but across 3 or 4 different time zones right across the length of the country. So how do you bring those people together to collaborate, to share interests and what they're interested in? And I wouldn't say we're looking to recruit or take members off individual institutions, but one of my defining sort of ambitions is to unite the globe around geospatial surveying, best practice knowledge and sharing communities, rather than sort of having any controlling minds or ownerships over where the people in the sub-school.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said that, and you're a perfect guest for this show. So you mentioned the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and it's my understanding they're kind of like the governing body, let's say, of chartered surveyors. And again, my understanding is you can be a building chartered surveyor, quantity chartered surveyor, and civil engineering chartered surveyor. Talk about those 3 different entities, if you would.
So the way they are, so the RICS are a different organisation to mine. They sit alongside us. We're not a competitor or rival. The RICS traditionally have specialised in client-led or the building world, but over time that role's developed around infrastructure. But they hold what they call the Royal Charter for the word surveyor. So if you want to get a chartered surveyor, then you need to be one of the RICS designations. Because we work in civil engineering, when we went to apply for our Royal Charter, we are the same as the RSS. We have a Royal Charter as well. We couldn't use the word surveyor in our professional designations because the RSS have already wrapped that up, which is fine. But we do a lot of civil engineering surveying. That's the core part of our membership. So we work a lot in infrastructure and civil engineering right across the world. So we're more aligned to the sort of chartered engineer designation, which is very similar to chartered surveyor, but it's more engineering based, which recognises the skills and developments of our profession and the uniqueness of us as being, the leading institution around infrastructure and civil engineering surveying.
Gotcha.
To answer your question, Ken.
Yeah, and so if you were, which category would you fall under if you were doing a boundary survey?
So a boundary survey, so that's sort of like, where you're working a lot of properties and you're going around just doing that sort of mapping. That's probably tended to be like the RICS. But let's just say you're going out and doing like topographical surveys, hydrological type surveys that go with that, geographic mapping, LiDAR, GNSS, that's all CICES. So anything to do with properties is generally what I would say RICS covers, and the client side of things. And we very much the doing institution out there in the park with the Trimble, with the kit, working with Bentley, working with Autodesk, those kind of organizations.
Mm-hmm. So if you were utilizing a drone or a UAV to develop, a 3D map, is that regulated as well?
It's not regulated, but that's certainly within our members and our institution's core competencies. So all our members do a lot of that work. In fact, it's a big area of growth for our membership is around that UAV type work. And it's interesting because what I find now is that in the UK, a lot of bigger construction projects are designed and built and managed using BIM models, building information models. But the underpinning knowledge that those BIM models are founded on comes from our membership. So the civil engineering geospatial surveyors that are our members are out there in the park capturing that information. One of the trends I see is that moving away from just being out there and with theodolite and a total station, and actually managing that data, help interpret that data, help be the guardians of the standard of that data to make sure it's captured in the right way.
Interesting. How about those rogue photogrammetrists? Do they need to be?
Yeah, we take anybody in, they're just all the waves and strays, that.
I'm considered a stray.
You're a stray. All right. So again, going back to you specifically, this CICES, what are the goals and objectives of that organization or that institution?
Yeah, so really our objective as our institution is it was established to advance the science and art of civil engineering surveying in all specialisms around geospatial engineering and commercial management and civil engineering. And we're a charity. We're there for the benefit of the public by upholding the standards of education, competence and practice and conduct of our members. And we are recognised by the UK and the devolved governments, so that's like your federal governments in the UK, as being the professional institution who specialises in geospatial engineering for that. And we're all about knowledge sharing, actually driving improvements and standards across the world, innovation, getting innovation, help drive innovation and sharing that knowledge for, like a societal improvement. We can be quite stoic individuals at times, and it's about actually taking that experience and knowledge and actually sharing it around. One of the ways I would see is as being of what we're promoting or how we do things is being about a digital integrator around global best practice and taking all the good things from different parts of the world and actually sharing that and saying, wow, if we all work together on this, look at all the resources we've got, what we could do. And so we do a lot more in thought leadership. So actually going to our members and professionals are actually incredibly talented and imaginative and innovative people. And it's really about drawing out that skill set and that knowledge of what they do on a day-to-day basis, sharing it around and saying, actually, look what this can do. We've got incredible challenges around climate change. There's a global climate emergency. It's very much in the headlines at the moment with COP26 in the UK this year. But do you know what? Looking at things like geographic mapping, photogrammetry, all these things are real building blocks to help fight these carbon challenges. We're an absolutely integral part of society's future. And so it's important that institutions like ours and podcasts like this, bring that news out, because, there's a lot of good stuff happening there, and we need to share that and work together.
Absolutely. I really like the model that you kind of described there. I mean, here in the States, as you probably well know, every state could have a different requirement to become a licensed surveyor. It could be a 4-year degree, could be a 2-year degree with X amount of years of experience, it could be no degree, X amount of years of experience. But I like what you're talking about, how becoming a chartered surveyor there, you're basically being tested on your competence, and that competence could come from education, it could come from experience and mentoring, it could come from different ways. And I really, really like that. I really like that model. Yeah,
and I think you hit the nail on the head. Competence, that's got to be a standard that we can all live to, and we work in an ever-changing world with lots of new innovation, lots of new tech coming through all the time. And what somebody's competent yesterday doesn't necessarily make them competent tomorrow. So we need to keep learning, we keep growing, and we need to keep developing.
Yep. No, on that note, is there like a continuing education requirement to maintain your?
There absolutely is, and it's sort of one of my pet projects, guys, around having really good CPDs, that continuing professional development, and in the UK, and actually it's something around the world, because we've got a strong membership in the Middle East, in Hong Kong, in Australia. We've got actually really strong memberships there, and China. And that is about the local network of members actually delivering and creating a lot of the CPD. So it's actually relevant to the jobs that you're doing. It's relevant to the local markets. And we've got our national centre, where it's all a series of like open-ended webinars on specific topics. Guys, what I will do is send you the links, and you can, if you want to join any, they're free to join. Don't need to be a member. We welcome anybody who wants to add to the debate. And I think they're actually recorded as well. So I'll see if we can find you the links, and you can watch them in your own time and get a feel for what it's like and what it's about. But it's really important that you need to keep learning. When you think about life, you can't stop, as soon as you get out of university. It's one of the things I'm a real big believer in, is education, and that will to learn.
Absolutely. One of the things you mentioned also was how CICES and some of the other institutions are promoting the profession of surveying. And I think on the website I saw that you guys are partnered with Elaine and Ellie Ball and Get Kids Into Survey, and we're huge fans of them as well. What are some other examples of ways that you guys are promoting surveying as a profession?
We work with an organization called DEC, which stands for Design, Engineering, Construct. And what they do is they actually go into local schools and have created programs for actually designing, building, and using engineering to create smart cities, or to create new engineering projects, bridges. And then what they do is they take them out and they show them the kit, take them out with a UAV, take them out with a theodolite, start from the beginning. There's we do lots of things around that. Not enough, there's pockets. I think one of our strategic development opportunities over the next few years is putting together a really sort of more coherent sort of pre-university, pre-college system to be able to help grow that. So that's just one way of doing that.
It seems to me, and I follow a lot of the different social media platforms, it'd be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and for whatever reason, I get the impression, we've had this discussion before, that surveyors are held in a higher regard in some of the European countries.
Absolutely.
Than they are here in the States. It's not a very respected profession here in the States for whatever reason. That's the $1 million question. How do we get past that? But what are your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest with you, I'm absolutely astonished that that's what it's like in the States. I think part of the reason is from like listening to what you're saying, is that I think the profession in the States is seen as a commodity. It's quite transactional, and so there's lots of people doing it. So I can just go and pick somebody off the shelf and they'll do that. I think certainly in the UK and in Europe, it's seen as a service. It's a value add. We know that we get the value from investing in the right level of skills and innovation from a particular organisation or a set of surveyors or It's not just about going and sticking some pegs out or doing a survey. There's actually some professional advice given in a lot of instances, or it's such a niche area as well that people really value the output. So when you have to look at some of the social media that we do, it's all about the value added aspects of the kind of things that the surveyors bring. Whereas my observation around the States is it's very, transactional. It's like, I need to go and get a survey company, or there's 5 there, I'll just pick one of them, and we'll go competition, it's the lowest price. And the problem with that is it deprives you of investment. You can't invest in your people to raise standards because you're always chugging away at the bottom line, and you can't raise your margins to actually reinvest in what you do.
You nailed it.
I like the way he thinks.
He absolutely nailed it. Yeah. The whole value add thing, you mentioned it being a commodity, and that is exactly right.
That's the old debate.
And my challenge back to you guys is, so if that's where you are, what can you do to change that? And that isn't a question that anyone can answer, because the way that things are structured in the States, it's so federalized, it's difficult to get a unified voice. If I deal with like a professional membership institution, there isn't one single one in the States that encompasses all geospatial surveyors that you could sort of start sharing best practice knowledge with. You'd need to go and like we do a lot of work with FIG, the International Federation. But one of the things I would say is you need to get that unifying voice across all the states, which means somebody giving up a little bit of power at a more granular level for the greater good. That's the challenge I see for you guys.
No question. I can't argue with that in the least bit.
He's so thorough. It's like,
he's thorough, but short and to the point. I mean, he nailed it, nailed every single aspect of the things that we're struggling with.
I'll throw an offer out to you guys. What I would say is that we are looking to create a series of virtual communities in the States around geospatial surveying with our existing members. But we're not an organisation that goes out chasing subs of fees. But I'd really welcome you being part of that conversation and sharing your knowledge and practice and opening it up to a wide discussion. And hopefully, you never know, that might help lead and garner a bit of a movement for change. So an open offer for you guys to be part of that.
I appreciate that offer, and I would absolutely love to be part of that conversation. So
we will pick that up.
We will definitely talk about that offline. So thank you for that.
He's going to hold you to it.
Yep, for sure.
So let's talk some of the challenges that surveyors in the UK are facing with COVID-19, or in just general of the market economic struggles. Can you explain this to me, this whole Brexit thing, a little clearer?
There's not enough hours timer in the day about Brexit. Let me just say, it's like, so I would say I was anti-Brexit, pro-Europe, and it's probably the biggest act of economic vandalism we've been sort of bestowed on ourselves. That said, we are where we are. The decision's been made. We live in a democracy, so we've just got to move on from it, make the best of it. I think from a geospatial perspective, I actually think it's been very little impact, because we work in a services-based economy, and effectively we fit into that in that space. What it's done is really caused challenges in resources. So I wouldn't say that we've had a lot of exposure to the European labour markets, but it has caused problems in terms of some people no longer have residential permits, able to live and work in the UK. It's caused people that would maybe come over from Europe to help support us not to do that anymore. So we've become a little bit more insular. I think that's one of the reasons why we as an institution are looking to sort of like reach out across the world and unite people around common standards, common ways of doing things, and sharing ideas and best practice. So although it's had various effects on different parts of life in Britain, I think it's actually been masked. No one really understands it at the moment because of COVID. So, Brexit came, COVID hit, and it's just like, well, who knows what it was going to be like, because COVID's been pretty disruptive. I think on the subject of COVID, certainly it's actually probably been a bit easier on our community, because we work outside traditionally anyway. We work in very small numbers. I mean, surveyors are probably the sort of great, we've been doing social distancing for years with theodolites and total stations, so it sort of comes naturally to them. So it's been a challenge, because, we've had various lockdowns probably the biggest thing is just traveling around the country has been very difficult. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge facing is really at the moment, you touched on it right at the very beginning, was the bit about, getting young people in, maintaining that trajectory. My big hope is really around like the changing skills profile, where we need more people with digital capabilities, analytics capabilities, information management, and that will be it's a little bit more sexy than standing outside on the side of a road with a stick. People often think that you're a speed, you've got a high-vis jacket on, you're sitting there with a total station. People think you're a speed camera, you're the local police. So, that's about all people know of you. So hopefully that will really help develop the profession and bring new people in and new ideas.
For sure. So yes, surveyors were practicing social distancing before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've seen like a t-shirt.
A t-shirt about that or something. Yeah. I can't take credit for that one.
No.
So you mentioned earlier about like education or university programs. Are there a lot of those in the UK, or are they pretty limited?
There's probably about a dozen across the UK. I think we work really collaboratively with the universities. A lot of the lecturers are members of the institution, the state and regional committees. I think the biggest worry we've got at the moment is that some of the courses are actually the organisations are stopping running some of the courses or taking breaks because there's not enough interest. And so as a consequence, the big worry is we're not generating enough interest, even at a most granular level of university intakes. And we're not talking massive numbers here. A typical course will take between 25 and 40 students every year. And there's maybe no more than 10, 12 on the go at any one time. So it's only 400 a year, but we're losing between 550 and 600 a year. So it's a real challenge. And, I think there's no easy answer to that. It's a long-term investment. We probably should have started 10 years ago. We didn't. We are where we are. We've got to start now. And really pick up the pace and bang the drum and get people in. And that's why I say that changing skills profile. I mean, UAVs, for example, are absolutely fascinating, like great tech. I mean, I getting a drone out, drone race, I don't know if you ever tried. I tried a bit of drone racing just for something to do with a few pals, a few weeks ago. It was great fun. You're outside, so you don't need to worry about the COVID rules and things. So it's a bit of fun. But it's that kind of thing to try and help unlock the talent that have an interest in tech and getting these new entrants. Had a really fascinating. I love doing anything digital and spend a lot of time in that space. I'm a visiting professor at one of the universities in Scotland that specialises in digital construction. And one of the things we've been doing is with digital twins.
Yeah.
And actually, you think, what's a geospatial survey got to do with digital twins? Well, actually, all the mapping data and all the survey data that these twins have founded upon comes from a geospatial surveyor or a photogrammetry expert or somebody who does LiDAR. We're actually at the real center of a digital revolution. We just don't know it. And so I was sitting there with this company called Epic Games who make something called Fortnite. And it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they're actually bridging out to take on Autodesk and Innovize in the digital twin space. We sat through a presentation with them, just like mind totally blown about the concepts of what you can actually do in this twin. So I think once people realize that geospatial surveying and our sector and our what we do is actually much more than going out and doing some mapping, though, I think hopefully that'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy and become a little bit more exciting. I don't want to say sexy because it's never going to be that, but certainly a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. Touched on some really good things there on the technological side, of course, with virtual reality now, and like Trimble and some of the other manufacturers are getting into that, that arena. I mean, the skill set of the surveyor is definitely changing.
I got a question for you. With that whole conversation of being the guy on the side of the road with a stick, what kind of safety measures do you guys have in place for surveyors? Is it common practice commonplace that there are injuries on the job sites, or
one-man crew, two-man crew?
Yeah. I mean, we have a pretty rigorous and robust health and safety procedures in the UK. We've got a piece of legislation called the Health and Safety at Work Act, which sort of, it's a bit of legislation which governs absolutely every industry in the UK, every job. It's pretty robust. It's very difficult to sort of get around it. And certainly, we've got really high standards for PPE and safety. So, if you were standing on the side of the road, you would be expected to be in a corned off, barried off area with the right control measures in place. Normally, it's a minimum of 2, but lone working is permissible as long as there's a lone working plan and you've got a lone working risk assessment and you've got controls in place. But generally speaking, it's at least a two-person crew that goes out and does a lot of the work. And PPE, there's a lot. We usually what we call 5-point standard PPE as a minimum. So that's like hats, hard hat, gloves, glasses, boots, and high vis as an absolute minimum. And then if you're working in any of the places, like if you've got in a confined space, you need confined space accreditation, harnesses, gas monitors, tripods. It's pretty aggressive safety regime.
You can learn so much from what they're doing over there. I'm telling you.
It just seems like it's a unified front.
Exactly.
And
that's a good way to say it. Seriously. So I'm going backwards just a little bit here, but when I was doing some research for the show, I came across the survey school, I guess.
Yeah. TSA, yeah.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. Is that like an accredited program, or how does that work?
So the Surveyors school, it's like what's the word? It's like a professional school that helps people achieve professional qualifications, whether that's through specialist courses in certain areas, growth, development. It's very much post. It's not somewhere where you go and do a degree or something like that, but it's somewhere where you would go and do a training course on a specific aspect, or there's CPD type courses and things like that. It helps with apprenticeships. It builds as apprentice networks. And it's not an organisation that, we work very closely with them, as do the RSCS. Although we are effectively competing organisations, we do actually work very collaboratively. We sit on a lot of joint committees, and certainly the Surveyors school, our members get a discount. If they want to go and do any of the courses and the training, our members get, I think it's 15% discount there. And we often do a lot of sharing of training. So we'll go out and advertise for our training courses, but we'll deliver them with the TSA and vis-a-vis the other way around. But the guy who runs them out is a really good guy, and they do a lot of great work there. And it's an extra bit of, it's a smallish organisation, but it adds so much incredible value for people who use it. And again, I think some of the stuff might be online. So in terms of the type of content you can do, I think the whole COVID thing's opened up a lot of opportunities around what goes on in other parts of the world, for sharing that knowledge and best practice.
It definitely has changed the face of things, for sure. So moving forward, what are your biggest concerns and what are you most excited about as it pertains to surveying in the UK?
So I think the biggest, let me say what I'm most excited about, I suppose, at the most is from a geospatial perspective, is that change in skills profile, moving to digital information management, greater use of data. And that'll help me address my biggest concern, which is just a lack of younger people entering the sector. I'm hoping it will help unlock the talent who have an interest in tech and increase those new entrants. But I think underlying that goes all around this is climate change. From a personal perspective, I think that's a real challenge for the world. It's not something any one country or any one sector can actually can resolve, but I'm a big power of working together and collaboration. And I think, when we work together with a defined goal going in a certain way, we're very, very capable of achieving great things. And I think COVID's demonstrated that. You look at the vaccine program, everyone using their resources and pulling a certain way has developed an incredible response to a really tragic situation. So, I think that overall arching thing, it all fits together for me, guys, in that respect.
So I want to put this out there. When I was on I think this came from your LinkedIn profile. It was a quote that was on there, and there is no doubt in my mind this describes you based on this conversation we've had. And it said, one of the key lessons I have learned is that working collaboratively is at the heart of any successful project or business. I firmly believe in driving the right behaviors and relationships to enable effective communication between project teams, clients, and the supply chain to deliver projects to the highest standards. I love that.
and it's true. I think I've been around this profession for a significant amount of time, and one of the things I learned very, very early on was about, you can't get anything done without working with somebody else to help you achieve that, and how you deal with those people and the kind of relationships you have with those people underpin those sort of things. So before I got into this kind of business, I used to be in the pub game. So I used to run a few bars in the UK at a very young age. I learned a lot about people in that space. I learned how to deal with people who are aggressive, how to deal with people who are uncooperative, and how to deal with people who can't stop talking, a bit like me right now. But, I think the thing I would say is fundamentally, we're all the same under the surface. And I think having a good level of emotional intelligence helps you manage that and bring those people together. I think one of the things I enjoy about being in the role I am is the ability to bring people together and talk to people around that and unify concepts. And you'll have hopefully noticed through all the language that I've used today, it's all been very collaborative type language about bringing, unifying, driving standards, driving the right way forward. And it'll come as no surprise as well. When I came out of the pub business, I ran into mobile entertainment. So I was a DJ in a few nightclubs and bars for quite a while. And so I do like a good gab, as they say in Scotland.
Now your pub industry work, did that help you deal with soccer hooligans as well?
Well, apart from probably being one at one point, Ryan, it's funny because it was wild. I had a great time in my life, like being in that environment. It was great fun, really, really hardest job I've ever done. You work in significant hours, no holidays, no breaks. You're dealing with the best of society and the worst of society, and in the same time, you see the best and worst of people. So I think what it teaches you that a drunken man's speech is a sober man's secrets, is the way I would describe it.
Oh my gosh.
I think he just jumped my next question right there.
I love that. You just described CJ Tallies.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. With that in mind, what motivates you, and would that be your mantra that you live by, or do you have something a little more in depth?
Well, I touched on it earlier, but I suppose my mantra is always walk through life as if you have something new to learn. I'm a real big believer in every day is a school day, and never being so arrogant to think that you know it all. And I think that really comes around my family life. I'm a very committed father, and I love spending time with my family. I've made a lot of career choices over the years to be at home, purposely when I could have done other things. I'm going to work away, but I think the moment you assume that you know it all, it's the moment you stop growing. Therefore, it's important. You've got to keep an open mind, always be into learning. Don't become rigid in your beliefs or your ideologies. You've got to be fluid, a bit like water, and be open to all the sort of wisdom and knowledge that's out there. I love reading. I love listening to shows like this. It's great. You learn so much random stuff. It's incredible. And I just that's what I really love. That's my mantra. It's just about that lifelong learning.
Be humble, don't be overconfident.
Absolutely, be humble. Yes,
humble, humility. True. Absolutely, no question. Well, I knew I was gonna like this conversation, but I freaking love Steve.
Yeah,
there's so much that I want to follow up on with him. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Well, he's headed this way to go golfing, so
yeah.
We can get.
Well, Scotland's the home of golfing shoots, so
shoots.
I often describe myself as I'm a hacker, not a stroker. So when it comes to the golf ball, there's some fun, really great golf courses here in Scotland.
I bet.
Could you imagine going there and playing like what is it, Carnoustie or whatever?
I would just embarrass myself.
That'd be so fun though. Oh my gosh. We got to figure this out, man. We got to figure this out. All right, listen, I could talk all day with you. Unfortunately, we got to get to our real jobs. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure we get out there?
No, the only thing that I would say is that, I listened to your last pod and you were talking about going on Clubhouse. So I'm going to look and see when you're on that platform. It's a platform that I'm really keen to use more and learn more about.
Cool.
And if you can't do golf and we want to get together, you should try esports maybe and do something online. That might be an alternative.
Wow,
It's
that
all
would be
about
cool.
unifying and bringing this together in whatever way we can, guys.
Totally agree.
Sounds like a plan.
Totally agree. All right. Anything else? Shoot, you got anything else, bud?
Nope. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here and taking the time. Love this episode. Talk about adding value and making friends.
Of course.
We set the bar to a whole nother level, I think. All right. Well, let's figure out a way to get to the UK, boys. What do you think about that?
I'm
it'd be great to
down
see you here.
anytime. That's on the bucket list.
It's on the bucket list for sure. All right. With that, be sure to check us out at thegeoholics.com. Follow and like us on all of our social media platforms by simply searching for the Geoholics. Download the Geoholics app from landsurveyorsunited.com. Send us an email at info@thegeoholics.com if you have any content ideas or would like to be a guest on a future show. We'd love to hear from you. As mentioned previously, please support our amazing friends of the program every chance you get. Be sure to mention that you're a Geoholic for the VIP experience. Pay it forward. Add value, make friends. Deacon Blue taking us out with Fergus Sings the Blues, available everywhere. Until next time, everybody, be safe and healthy.
Once again, thank you to our friends of the program, Aerotech Mapping Inc. at atmlv.com, Advanced Geodetic Surveys Inc. at agsgps.com, Bad Elf GPS at bad-elf.com, Cobb Fenley at cobbfenley.com, Cyanic Automation at cyanicautomation.com, Diamondback Land Surveying at diamondbacklandsurveying.com, Get Kids Into Survey at getkidsintosurvey.com. Land Surveyors United at landsurveyorsunited.com. Mentoring Mondays at mentoringmondays.xyz. Monson Engineering at monsonengineering.com. Parkland Community College at parkland.edu/landsurveying. Safety Apparel at safetyapparel.us. Tiger Supplies at tigersupplies.com.